Today we're going to start our little intro to geometry by talking about some lines and planes. So the first word that we have to define, it says a blank indicates position or location, and that should be a point. Okay, a point indicates position or location. A point has no size, and you name a point by a capital letter. So if I gave you something like this, you would either call it point K or just K. Okay, that's just the point. Whoop, there we go. It indicates position or location. Then, the next one over here on the right, it says a blank is a series of points that extend in two opposite directions without end. That is a line. Okay, a line extends in both directions without end, and you name a line by any 2 points on the line with a line symbol on top. Okay, so a line looks like this, and let's say this was point D, this was point C. We would call this line DC. So this is what it looks like. This is how we write it. Okay, then this bottom left, or not quite bottom, middle left, says a blank is a part of a line with one endpoint and all the points on the line on one side of the endpoint. And that is, I'll use a different color. That is a ray. Okay, so for example, if I gave you something that looked like this, let's say it started on D, went through point C and on forever, we would call that ray DC. Okay, then I'm looking for another color. The next one says a blank is part of a line between two endpoints, and that is segment. Okay, and a segment is that part of a line between two endpoints. You name a segment by its endpoints with a segment symbol on top. Okay, so if it started on D and ended on C, that would be segment DC. And then the very last thing that we have to talk about is an angle. And an angle, not to be confused with angel, which is EL. Okay, an angle is formed by two rays with a common endpoint called a vertex. Okay, so let's say this is X and this is A, so you have ray XA and then ray XB, and when you put them together, because they both have this common endpoint of X, it makes an angle. Okay, so on the bottom, it says use the points in each diagram to name the figures shown. Okay, so I know I have an X and a Y, and it's in between X and Y, so therefore it's a segment. So that's segment XY. This one in the middle, okay, it starts on J, it has an endpoint, goes through T and on forever. So that is ray JT. We started on J, we went through point T, and we continued on forever. And then this one over here on the far right, it goes on forever as indicated by the arrows in both directions. So therefore it's a line, and it would be line GR. Okay, so then the last three, if you want to pause it and come back and check your answers, I will walk you through them. Okay, this bottom left one should be ray PD, segment LC, and then line AV. Okay, and the order of the letters really doesn't matter if you wrote VA or CL. The only time it matters is when you're doing a ray. You always start on the end point first, so because P was first with the end point, and then you write D because it continues on through D. Okay, let's flip our page over. And then it says a blank is a flat surface that extends indefinitely in all directions and has no thickness. Okay, and that is plane. Okay, so I'm assuming you're sitting at a table right now or a desk. The top of that table or desk is called the plane. Okay, and it's not, like even my paper is not really a plane because this has a thickness to it. A plane is just the flat top of it. And so over here it says there are two planes in the diagram at the right. Okay, this is a plane and this is a plane. If we were in person, I would kind of show you, it's like having two pieces of paper, or my hands like stacked on top of each other. Those are the two planes. Okay, and then the next part says intersecting and parallel lines lie in the same plane. Intersecting, I'm trying to think how I can write this small enough. Intersecting lines have exactly one point in common. Okay, so these two lines up here are intersecting. Okay, they have exactly one point in common, right? These two little lines intersected, that's the point they have in common. Then the next definition is parallel. Parallel lines are lines that are in the same plane, but they never ever intersect. Okay, so that would be like these two down here. Right? They can continue on forever and ever and ever. They are never going to cross. Those are parallel. Parallel segments and rays lie in parallel lines. Okay, and so the last one says blank lie in different planes. Okay, and that would be skew lines. Okay, skew is generally the hardest one to kind of visualize. So again, if we were thinking about how these are stacked on top of each other, like you have two pieces of paper, okay? Skew lines might be like this one and this one. Those lines are skew because they're not even in the same plane. Okay, so right now, if you were to draw a line on your floor and a line on your ceiling, right? Those are never going to intersect. Okay, they're not on the same plane. They are skew. Okay, so skew lines lie in different planes. So then this bottom part says use the information in the diagram to name a segment with the given description. Okay, so we want to name a segment that is parallel to AB. So this is AB. So what would be a segment that's parallel to that? GH, right? This is like the front of the house. Okay, so these two are on the same plane, but they are never going to intersect. They are parallel. So GH with the segment sign. Then the next one says something that is skew to AB. So there's lots of different options, but we want something that's not even on the same plane. So I might say like FC. Right? So if this right here is AB, this is FC, they're not on the same plane, they are never ever going to intersect. And then parallel to BC. So this, is BC. So what would be something parallel to BC? EF is parallel, right? These two, you have to think about it, they're on the same plane. It's like the side of the house, or the roof, sorry. So BC and EF are parallel. Or if you thought of this as like being the top of, I feel like I'm gonna destroy this picture here. This is the side of the house, right? BC is the top line. HD is also parallel. Okay, and then the last one asks you to name something that intersects BH. So if this is BH, there's lots of things that are intersecting BH. AB, right? BH, this is AB, my finger. Okay, BC is, or sorry, AB is my finger, BC is the side, right? They come together like this. They intersect at that one point. Okay, another thing that intersects BH would be GH or HD or BC, right? Any of those would intersect. So if this is BH, AB intersects it at one point, GH intersects it at one point, BC. These are my horrible pictures, finger pictures. And then if this is BH, HD would intersect it at that one little point.